and we're all quiet.
Yeah, everybody goes real quiet when it goes live. We're like,
Yep.
is it live? If we talk while it's going live, it'll miss the connection.
We broke it. We broke it.
Yeah, we can't break it. Um, I am waiting for people to join in.
We're officially live.
Yeah. I haven't got the notification yet, but
This is why they run the elevator music in front of all the other podcasts while they wait for people to come into the room.
I figure we're more entertaining than elevator music. Lola, do your strip tease.
No. There we go.
Yeah, worst stripper ever.
Oh,
The worst stripper ever is the one who fell off the 2-story pole and broke her jaw.
Yes, she
I
did.
never fell off the pole.
Yeah, she never fell off. Chris, well, it's funny. Lola danced. Lola danced for a while, but she never fell off the pole. But she admitted that how long did you dance? Like 3 months?
Yeah.
3 months, and she said that it was she was lazy.
I was lazy.
She went and did her pole routine, and then went to the back. Like what?
No, the drink with the bartender.
See,
The bartender had a crush on me,
that's not cool.
and she was cool.
Oh, it was a female bartender had a crush on you. Well, that is cool. Yeah, we could that is cool. Hello, everybody out there. We are here
all three of you. Hello, welcome.
once again. We
have
are.
have we warmed up the tubes for IndieVolt Radio?
Yeah, they are actually going.
You
It's
have to
actually been
slap
live.
them this time again, or
Yeah.
tick,
No, I had to reset it the other night though, but not tonight. Haven't had to do that.
reboot?
So yeah, we are live. We are rocking, and we are going to talk to Mr. Pat Kawula Bear. he's gone years without having to fight that name. Was that a name in high school?
Oh, my whole life. Absolutely.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah, we've got Pat. He's going to talk about his new book, Get in the Game, which I keep wanting to refer to as he's cashing in on the Sonic the Hedgehog craze right now. Let's face it, that's what he's doing. He put this book together in 2 nights. And,
Oh yeah, I'm sure he just threw this together.
Yeah, it's the thrown together at the speed of light.
Months of planning, months of sweat.
So it took him about a week to do it. He's so we are going to talk to him about that. We're going to talk to him about he running the convention. He's one of the chairs at C4. And which is a convention held in beautiful Traverse City. Every holiday, Memorial
Traverse
Day
City,
holiday.
Michigan, for those of you out there in radio.
Yeah, Traverse City, Michigan. It's a nice show. It's one of my favorite shows of the year. And so we're gonna talk to him about that. We're gonna answer your questions we got sent in, and Pat's gonna even weigh in on some of those questions that we have sent in. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
And we still have that question from Thursday.
We do.
That if
we
we
do.
can,
Yep.
we might want to wait on that to get a couple more people in.
We will. We will.
Up here before we spring that one on them.
So we're gonna hit the intro, and then we will be right back with everyone, and we'll get started. Randy, are you hitting the intro, or should I?
Oh, I can get it.
All right. He's getting the wrong one. Watch it. He's gonna hit the wrong one. I know
The
it.
wrong one? Am I going to hit the wrong one? Oh, wait a minute. Where'd it go? It's got to be up here. Hang on just a minute. I know where the intro is. Give me a second. Not the one marked whoa.
At this point, a Mickey Mouse organization. would
Here it
be a
is.
compliment.
Hey.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
I hope I. Hello, everyone out there.
I knew
My
where it was.
name is Varian Grant. I'm the co-owner of Last Call Comics, been so for the last 7 years, coming on 8 next month, and founder of IndieVolt Media LLC. Got my start making comics way back in 2008. First book published was a little black and white interior action comedy called Psycho Sirens. I'm a father, a husband, a geek, a creator, publisher, a reluctant taxpayer, and artist, shamefully not in that order, and you are watching IndieVolt Live. Tonight, I'm joined by, as always, Lola. There's a classic wave. And Mr. Zimmerman.
Hey, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good.
And we got a special guest tonight, Pat Kawula. Randy, introduce yourself and then we'll move to Pat so he can tell everyone who he is.
Okay. I am Randy Zimmerman. I've been in the independent comic business. That was Standards and Practices chiming in right
What did you do already?
already. Oh. Anyway, I've been in independent comics for many decades. Arrow Comics, Weeby Comics, Massive Comics are all titles that I self-published under. I worked freelance for many years. I've done just about everything. No, I have done. I think I've done everything in the independent market that you can possibly do, and including doing a newspaper for the last 10 years, Flint Comics and Entertainment, which was a little comics and entertainment newspaper we printed and gave away here in the local Flint area, Flint, Michigan area, Genesee County. We moved through 10,000 copies of that paper every month. After 100 issues and deciding that my savings account had taken enough, we decided to stop doing it. But we still got a lot of readers out there. Anything we had left over, we gave away at shows. So it was a lot of fun. And I am now an award-winning commercial and graphic artist, and recently was bestowed the honor of being the curator of the Indie Comics Hall of Fame. So, which I had the pleasure of inducting the first member into it last weekend, and that was, of course, Mr. Will Eisner. So,
I still remain the same variant last week that I was today. I'm still the same.
you're still the same variant.
Still the same variant. No new honors. One new warrant.
At least you're not a veteran of this comic industry.
No, I'm not a veteron.
We're all
not a
still
veteran.
on active duty.
I'm there's a new warrant out for my arrest. I need to take care of that.
That's probably a personal problem you don't want to get into while we're live.
And Pat, tell us a little bit about.
Did it involve a bear?
No. It involved a bad decision, and we'll talk about it later. We'll talk.
You're fine.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about the animals.
No. It was a turtle for anyone who wants to know.
First off, Pat, before you introduce yourself, we do have to say,
Welcome to the party, pal.
thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me. It's it's been fun already. Well, I have been involved in Cherry Capital Comic Con for almost 10 years now. We're going on our 12th year this year for the show on Memorial Day weekend here in Traverse City, Michigan.
That's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah, so we've been at it a while. I've been a volunteer, an attendee, an exhibitor, and for the past few years, I was the media relations director, handling all the media and marketing. And this year, I took over as the exhibitor relations director, handling Artist Alley and all the vendors and everything. So,
Cool.
I'm the person who holds Variant's fate in his hands.
I was going to say that must be why Variant's having you on.
I'm making sure that I get them on, and we get them on
table,
every.
right? I got
Yeah, and for the longest time, I've kind of wanted to put something together and actually put some comic out there that I've created, because I've been lucky enough to have so many amazing friends who are in this industry and doing so much within it, and so blessed to have so many amazing creators who are doing such crazy good work out there right now, and especially in the Michigan comic scene. It's just not fair. I feel like we kind of are spoiled here. I don't think we have this that other places have what Michigan has for indie comics, but that's just me being pompous.
No, you're just pointing out the obvious. That's we blame the long, cold winters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That keeps us all inside and a little crazy. So you
Yeah.
have to be a little crazy to be in this business.
Open the window. I'm not going out there.
So,
exactly.
yeah. Apparently, an inch of snow makes the trucks not roll for delivery companies in Michigan. So but I have been for the past year. I've been working on an anthology comic, because why put out one comic when you could put out 10 from 10 different creators all at once? So it's a 10-story anthology, 8-page stories in the books, 10 separate creative teams. They're all unique, all great stories. That has been being produced the past year, and it hit Kickstarter earlier this month, and it's got about 8 days left as we live and breathe right now. We've been about 75% of the goal. So,
That's cool. 8 days left. Ooh, we're cutting it close. But it looks like you're gonna make it. Looks like you're gonna make it.
I'm hopeful.
We're gonna work our way back around to your book.
I'm
We're
going
talking about
to
that.
call it up here as we're speaking. So
again, do you feel this? I do want to ask you some questions about putting the book together. Was there a big jump? Was there a big learning curve for you?
Oh, absolutely. It's because I've never been involved in the publishing side of it. So figuring out contracts and deadlines and holding people to deadlines and all those management type things that you just don't think about go into it.
Yeah.
And really, it's just like wow. And thankfully, I had some great friends who were willing to be sounding boards and jump in there. And then of course, editing other people's work. I'm not an experienced editor, so it's been crazy to go through that. But the team has been awesome to work with. They're all very open with to suggestions and dare I say criticism, because there's times where it's going to be taken that way.
Yeah.
But it's been a pleasure to work with all these people. Some of them I've known for years. Some I met through this because I just threw things out there on places like Reddit and Facebook groups and stuff. And there's probably, I think out of the 20 some creators, at least 6 or 7 of them I've never met before, and another 3 to 5 of them are people who I only have like cursory relationships with. So,
And now is the time to name drop. Tell us who's in the book.
well, we've got it ranges from beginners like first time creators like Dave Herndon and Corey Maslowski. Sam Chestnut is the first timer. Dean Mason. Then we go on to people who've done a bunch, more and more stuff. Rob Humphrey, who was a award nominated webcomic creator with Punching the Clock, and then moving through that, Travis Bramble and Jarrett Whalen, and then we get into people who are kind of larger mainstays of the indie comics industry, at least here in the Michigan area, like Seth DeMoose, Travis Bramble, and Kaylin Smith. I mean, it's a murderer's row of people involved in this book.
My computer decided that it needed to translate the page to what looks to be Japanese. So I don't know why.
Your Kickstarter?
Yeah.
The Kickstarter page?
Yeah, and I think I know why.
Can you share that? Let's see it.
I think I know why. 1 second. Let me go back to that.
It's his system. He's got a crappy system.
Yeah.
Have you watched this show before, Pat?
Yeah, I've watched a couple times.
So he freezes all the time.
Yes, he does.
All
Yeah.
the time.
Like,
I just got to see this if it's in Japanese. It's got to be awesome. It's in Kenji. No, it says about this campaign.
Well, yeah, but look at everything else.
That definitely looks like Japanese to me.
Yes, it does.
Oh, awesome.
What happened?
You must have hit the wrong F key.
Yeah.
That or it's
F
maybe because I
this,
logged
F
in.
this, F this.
It's
Anyway.
probably maybe because I'm logged in the IndieVolt radio too. Maybe I listen in Japan and that's my computer's like, no, that's where you're from now. Might be the VPN. Might be I don't know.
Our opening radio numbers.
Open radio numbers are very high right now. We're at 902. 902. 902.
Gonna break 4 digits again.
Yeah.
Feel it.
Nice.
I can feel it.
Daniel
Hey,
Gardner
So,
says hello.
Daniel
hello,
Gardner's
Daniel.
not one of the contributors because he says hello.
Yeah.
I don't remember having Daniel in the house before.
Oh,
but thanks
he's
for
one of
coming in.
Lola's. Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, yeah.
I see. That's why I haven't seen him.
Ralph Griffith says, I need
It's
my
all good.
buzz away from Pardon Day.
Pardon Day. If you're a friend of our great president and you've done something, well, just a little stock finagling. That's
Yeah.
all. It's get out of jail free day.
Apparently.
I missed my shot.
Spin the wheel.
A couple years ago, I could have.
Mr.
I heard
Milken,
somebody tried to
Just give
sell their
lucky
pardon
day.
papers for like $2.8 million to their cellmate.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's better than what was that one of the governors who was getting out at the last election was running them for 10,000 or 20,000. They figured he made out like a small bandit on his way out because he just kept signing papers.
I'm going to put up one of the questions that we have. And I'm going to go to one of the questions, too, that we had last week. 1 second. I forgot to bring that one up because, it's me, right? But I do want to bring up one thing because you mentioned it, and you mentioned editing. Friend of mine, fellow artist, friend of mine on Facebook, ZB, She's known as the one layer girl because she draws on one layer. She colors on one layer, does everything on one layer digitally. And she's taken what people call a weakness and made it part of her brand. And she puts her book on Webtoon, Tapas, a bunch of different places.
I don't know if it's a weakness per se. You get used to working in a particular,
Well,
fashion.
yeah, I don't want. I
That's
shouldn't
the
say
way
a
you work,
weakness.
that's all.
I shouldn't say a weakness, but some people complained about. She's made it part of her brand. So it's like, me. I could be like, hey, I'm Varian, the slightly overweight artist.
Well, to me, she's making digital art as if it's on paper.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so she has a book out called a story out called Our Little Universe, and I forgot many issues she said. I cannot bring it up because it does have sexual themes in there. And YouTube will be like, nope. So I'm not gonna.
Facebook will be like,
Yeah,
nope.
Yeah, but I'm gonna post the email she got today. She gave me permission to post this. So here we go. Randy, you want to read that?
Hello. We are writing to inform you that one or more episodes of your series Our Little Universe has been removed for violating our community policy due to nudity and explicit sexual content. Please note that we do not allow black box or mosaic censoring. Censoring of inappropriate content must be a natural part of the panels/imagery. We recommend using cropping or elements within the panel illustration to censor the nudity/sexual content and violence, e.g. shadows, steam, always important that steam, hair, fog, speech bubble, act,
etc.
Find an act. Always go for the act.
What do you guys feel about that? Me personally, I'm like, wait a minute, are you my editor? At what point do you tell me what I can do with my own story? But I guess they're saying, hey, we're the platform, we can tell you that. How do you guys feel about that?
I'm never a fan of censoring, but I understand that there's a term of service with Webtoons. When you sign up to use somebody else's platform, you have to follow their rules, just like Facebook or YouTube would crush it. But if it's not in the terms of service, then you look at it and go, what's the deal?
Right. How about you, Randy? I mean, you've edited books for people before.
Well,
would you ever?
The majority, stop me if I'm wrong, the majority of the stuff on Webtoons is anime. Right?
Manga, because
Manga. It's manga. You get a bunch of adult manga running out there. All of a sudden, you've got black boxes running rampant everywhere. There's all sorts of strange tentacles, and over in Japan, they'll pixelate it.
Yeah.
If it's really naughty.
Yeah.
They just want to keep those black boxes in check.
That's
That's what Webtoon wants.
They don't want any black boxes.
Suddenly, there's black boxes all over the panel.
I have to wonder
how
if
attractive is that?
I have to wonder if it'd be okay if the boxes were white. Anyway,
Next
so
time
white
use
boxes.
incredibly large words like censor. Slap it right over. No. I don't know. They can have their rules. Quite honestly, it's their site.
Mm-hmm.
They get to make the call. They haven't censored per se her content, only her personal use of censorship is not one that they want to allow, because I'm sure, like I said, they don't want little black boxes floating all over the place.
I'm sorry.
Trico just tuned in.
Yeah. Rob says I can't go to Webtoons. No, you can't, Rob. No, you can't. It's your fetish agenda. Your books aren't allowed anywhere, sir.
Is he personally not allowed in Webtoons?
He's not allowed on Webtoons, and he's not allowed on the show either with his pornographic comic. I'm just kidding.
Oh boy.
Rob's a friend of the show, and he's got a book, Barbara Unleashed. It. Yeah, you can't go to Webtoons with that. Who's controlling the board? Lola, is that you? Okay.
What?
Go ahead. Steve says.
Rival
yeah.
Steve?
Yep.
I don't like standing with a censor. But it's their platform, and they get to decide what's on there.
Yeah.
Well, they did give them a number of outs, like Steam and Ect.
Yeah.
So it's all good. Josh Lyman says guidelines be guidelines. you can just express your sexual frustration by having your character grow hair and flowers instantaneously and having her face all flustered.
I want to jump in there and say that if that's actually that person's name, I love their name, and if it's not, I still love their name because I'm a huge West Wing fan.
Oh, Josh Lyman. Yeah, that's his real name.
That's his real name.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I want to meet that guy. That guy's awesome.
yeah.
I don't even know if he's ever watched West Wing.
Yeah, Josh, you ever watch West Wing? Trico says, I just tuned in and think Randy's talking about hentai.
Well, I was, yes.
Yeah. And black boxes. He was.
It's gone now. Yes.
Orgasm Face is next, not at conventions, and we'll talk to Pat about that, about those shirts, those Orgasm Face shirts, and if they're gonna be allowed to see for. And Rival Steve says,
Thanks, Rivals.
I agree, Zim. Let's jump into a question here. We had a question last week from SK, and we did it in the morning.
Mysterious SK.
But we figured that we should talk about this question one more time here.
Is this the privacy question?
Yeah. Do you think creators in 2020 have a reasonable expectation of privacy? Do you have to give up your privacy to get your work out there? And if so, what is the correct balance? That's from SK. And Randy, you waited on that last week. I think you said that you have to give a little bit of privacy, right? Basically.
Well, if you want to sell your work, you're going to have to sell yourself. And in order to sell yourself, you're going to be a little bit transparent. You know what I mean. You have to sell your talent, yourself as a talented artist. You want people to get to know you, which involves a certain level of transparency, but not. It doesn't have to be totally and complete transparency.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't have to know about your uncle's sordid past.
Mm.
Yeah, I think, I think you're selling your persona too. So I mean, there's ways to kind of mask your privacy a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not giving somebody my home address, and I don't want to bother my family, but you do give that, you do have to give some of that, and you give it up just naturally by being on social media anyway. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know that there is a correct balance out there, but Randy, you said it perfectly. You have to sell yourself and your talents and your personality to connect with the buyer, because they don't. Most people buying indie comics aren't buying the what, they're buying the why, mm-hmm. which is common for pretty much anything. But I think in indie comics it happens more than ever, because there's plenty of it out there. It's and there's something for everybody. So
mm-hmm.
they're gonna the what is gonna kind of bring them towards you, but the why is what's gonna close the sale. So, and you can't get the why without giving up some privacy.
Mm. Dave the Supreme
is in the house.
Josh says, I'm sorry. I lived in DC in the 2000s. Couldn't exist on Facebook because of West Wing. I had to change the professional name to include the Seaman initial. Got familiar with Bradley Whitford intimately, at least twice a convention show as well. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Make a name and hide who you really are is a cool thing, says Rob. You can do that. I mean, I'm gonna be Billy Ray Valentine next year, 2021. I'm gonna wear my ideas. I'm gonna get a custom helmet made like Marshmallow the DJ. I'm gonna come to the cons and be in character all day, and that way, no matter what I do, like, you can't blame it on me. I didn't do it. We're going to jump into a good question here, Randy. And this, Pat, you'll like this one because you're running the crowdfunding campaign right now. Randy, we have someone who's mad with us.
Mad
with us. Mad
with us, not madly in love with us.
No, they're upset with us.
How can anybody be upset at us? What have we done? You guys ought to do more to warn creators about the dangers of taxes after a successful campaign. I effed myself, both on the production, shipping, and now the tax end of things. I now owe a few K to Uncle Sam. My ass is in a noose. K. Reitman. Kay Reitman, I think did we ever address out?
Wait.
What,
Pat
what,
just face palmed and I missed it. He just
Did?
I did. I straight up. I was like, oh god.
there it is. Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm not trying to pick on him, but assuming he used Kickstarter or Indiegogo, the two major platforms, they tell you when you're putting your budget together, when you're putting your goal in, that they actually calculate the estimated taxes for you based on your goal to give you an idea of what to know that how much you're going to have to take. They tell you how much they're taking in fees off of that and how much the estimated taxes is going to be on that. And your mileage is going to vary, but they tend to put it, I'm pretty sure they put it in like the highest or second highest tax bracket for their calculation. So if you don't know Uncle Sam's going to take part of that money, sorry.
A good rule is probably 30%.
Yep.
But that's Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam has got to have a taste. Got to have their share. But I think we've discussed here on the podcast before the importance of having an accountant, haven't we?
Yeah, we talk about that, but
I just got back from my accountant last week.
Yeah.
And literally, well, not literally, but, pretty figuratively dropped to my knees and thank God she existed, because there's some things you just have to leave to the professionals.
And
Kay Reitman, on your first campaign, everybody's going to make a lot of hardcore mistakes. And you should have, not to say we told you so, but you should have done your research, and you should have kind of figured that Uncle Sam would come a calling. The money doesn't magically fall out of the heavens, and Uncle Sam decide that it's okay for you to keep it all. That is earned income.
Rival Steve says it's your job to educate yourself about how taxes work. That is true. And then in regards to the last question, Ralph
believe
says,
me, you can save a lot of that hassle by having a friend who's an accountant.
yeah, get yourself an accountant. You got to. Ralph says the more visible equal the less privacy in regards to our last comment about.
Well, that also goes for your taxes too.
Yeah. The more, they want to know.
And you're on Kickstarter, so Uncle Sam automatically knows there's a certain amount of money that has gone into your pocket as earned income.
Yeah, I mean, are we supposed to? Well, I guess we should do a tax special. We should get a tax sponsor on the show. Hey, dumbasses, making money in comics and Kickstarter. Call me.
Well, and if he's on the hook for a few K, he must have had a fairly successful campaign too.
I was thinking the exact same thing, Pat. Exactly. Same thing.
Couple
K. Yeehaw, buddy.
That's
what we call a happy problem. Well, if you don't have the money, that's a problem, but
yeah, if he didn't budget for it.
yeah.
He linked me to his campaign. He did fairly well. Yeah, he did fairly well. I didn't put it up here because I don't want to.
Well, we're sorry that you're surprised by this, but I'm sure it was in the informational packet on both Kickstarter and Indiegogo to plan for taxes.
Yeah,
I can guarantee that it is.
Yeah, if you've been listening to these podcasts, not necessarily ours, but other people who have done crowdfunding campaigns, they would probably tell you, especially the following, rollover year when they had to claim all this stuff. People would be screaming.
yeah.
And honestly, make sure you take care of your expenses. Make sure you know your expenses, and most of those taxes are going to get written off anyway because you're probably going to end up with a zero sum.
That's why
if you're doing it right. Yep.
You're only going to be paying taxes on the profit.
Yep.
So, if you spend a little, make a little, then you'll pay a little in taxes. So that's why a lot of these guys who are doing their second, third, fourth crowdfunding campaign, all of a sudden everybody's, they're bringing in extra talent on these books and they're paying them pretty well. So our Owens, who's cows?
Yes, I guess he goes by the name of Cows.
Awesome. Is he another Aussie? No? Do you know where
No.
our Owens is from?
Yeah, no.
I had my artist convince my colorist to leave my project after I went on a pro CG live stream. This is after my colorist went on any and every anti-CG podcast live stream that would suffer him. I've paid for work. I'm being now denied, and I'm suing. Warn people, this isn't acceptable. I want pro/anti-CG money. He just wants people to read his stuff. That's what we all really want.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's a shame that there's this kind of polarization out there, and quite honestly and frankly, in my opinion, it's totally worthless and unnecessary. And it's petty, immature drama that doesn't need to exist. But you do have idiots that run around and go, oh, he's pro CG, you can't work for him, he's got to be this and this. Or, hey, he's pro SJW, you can't work for him because he's this and this. It's just ridiculous. Now, our Owens, sue their ass. Sue their ass, and sue their ass hard for not being business.
Not too hard though, because they can get you.
No,
Oh,
get them,
okay.
get them,
Yeah.
get their lawyer to get them, make an example of them, and just nail them to the wall for not being a professional. In my opinion,
Randy's gonna get a call for
I'm
master
not-
practices in like 2 minutes.
yeah, probably. I am not in any way a legal counsel, and I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm giving you my personal opinion. Unprofessionalism should not be tolerated.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they can't take your work and refuse to give it to you.
They
I mean,
can't
you
take your
paid
money.
for it.
They can't take your money and refuse to give you that work.
Yeah, they got to give you the money or the work.
And right now, really, you just want your money back so that you can get somebody competent up there to do the work that this idiot's not going to do for whatever reason, political BS that he wants to abide by.
Yeah.
And just pity that guy, move on, find another guy. And in the meantime, if he's not going to give you the money back, sue him.
I'm happy to point them towards some great colorists.
Yeah, there are people out there that will work on either side of the fence who realize that money is green and business is business.
Steve wants to know, Owens, if did you know how he felt before you hired him? So if you're listening in, feel free to jump in the chat and let us know that you know how the guy felt. There's also a cautionary tale on knowing who you're working with. Very true.
That's a very, very good point.
Larry in the house.
Rival Steve part. Larry's in the house. Hello, Larry. How you doing?
Yeah, I
we keep pounding away at this. Do your research. Do your research. Do your research on your talent. Make sure you're covered with your talent. Hopefully, you had a contract with your talent.
yeah, he
on
says
this
he's.
mess.
Yeah.
So
Pat, do you want to weigh in on that at all? Or you?
No, absolutely. It's contracts, and especially it sounds funnier when you say it, but especially when you're working with friends. When you the way to keep a friendship is to have a contract.
Yep.
Because now everything's spelled out. This is what I'm responsible for. This is what you're responsible for. This is what I'm paying. This is what you're giving me in return for that. It makes it clean. It makes it easy. And you know, here's where the business begins. Here's where the business ends. Everything else is still the friendship. And, you know, everyone agrees to it up front and it all gets put together.
Yep.
That is the biggest mistake that people make. And, you know, I'm talking like I'm some expert, you know, but I talked with a lot of people. I researched and, you know, took a lot of advice, talked to a lot of people about what are the pitfalls, and these are the pitfalls you see. It's funny, you're putting up two of the big ones. It's making sure you know how much money you need to make a profit on the Kickstarter or your crowdfunding campaign, whatever platform you're using, and making sure that you're dealing with people in a professional manner and having those professional relationships in place properly to ensure that the work is done in a timely manner at the right price for all the, you know, all the above. Those are the two giant pitfalls you run into when you're creating something new, because you're creating something out of nothing. You know.
Yeah.
And our Owens, something also to keep in mind is the pay-as-you-go method, because then you're getting work from your talent that you are looking at and approving before you're giving them money. You've kind of put the carrot into the horse's mouth as opposed to hang it by a string so that they'll actually carry you where you're supposed to go.
Deposit up front and paid every page.
Now, there's nothing wrong with paying as you go in increments, because we don't want anybody to starve. And if you're working on a graphic novel, that's months out of your life, or out of your talent's life. Absolutely, make sure that your talent is happy, but at the same time, make sure that you're happy and that you're paying as you're seeing this work come in, to make sure that it's not just done, but done at a level that you expect it to be done at. Or else you're going to have this situation again.
Larry says, this is why I will never say I am CG. He says, I would rather be a lone wolf without a label. Easier to find people to work with. And he always does pay as you go.
Yep.
But you're
Pay as you go.
you're in Canada, so, you know, you guys are all trustworthy.
You know what? I don't care if you're pro or anti, whatever. Whatever you are. You know what? Be a decent person to me, and that's what I'm gonna have a thing with. Like, if you have a good professional relationship with me, keep your politics out of it. I don't need them. I don't want to know them. Be good to me. I like your talent. I like your attitude. I'm gonna work with you. That's all that matters.
I think that's the best way to go about it. And now,
just want to say hey to James Russell, who's listening in. I just saw this note on Facebook. Same thing with Mark Holmes, who says hello to Lola off of my Facebook page. Mark, and James, you're always welcome to be part of the chat. If you can listen to us on YouTube, and if you are listening to us on YouTube, hit that like button and subscribe to IndieVolt Radio.
Now, here's a good one for
or
both.
IndieVolt, or listen to IndieVolt Radio.
Here's a good one for both Pat and Randy. So I'm just going to shut up because I have nothing to say in this argument here.
You have no skin in this game?
I have. Well, I got a little bit, but, you know, I just...
No dog on this hunt?
I'm just like, it's one of those, what you mean, we situations. Here we go.
I'm out of this one.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting thrown under the bus here, Randy.
I think so. This happens often. That's why I like these questions cold. I have no discernible talent to give to the comics industry, but I love it. Grew up in the 60s reading comics, and I've never stopped. I own a copy of Suspense Comics number 3, Zim. Suspense Comics number 3? Anyhow, I'm just trying to think of what the importance of that is.
Yeah.
Is that's an old Golden Age EC book?
I have no idea.
I'm
Mason
looking that up.
W. If so, good on you. Anyhow, I want to give back. I talk about opening a store. I'm told it's a waste of money. I think about starting a Comic-Con. I'm told it's a waste of money. Same with publishing. How can I get in? Mason W. Mason. Research. You've been here for a long time. I guess I'm really curious about what Suspense Comics number 3 is.
I look it up, but we know what happened to my system if I do that.
Yeah, I know. I'll have to bing it. Give me just a second here. Let me see what this says. Image that.
Barnhart, Suspense Comics number 3. It's Nazis on the cover.
Nazis.
I know this cover. I know this cover. Why do I know this cover?
That's the magic N word. The other N word. What did it say, Lola?
That's got to be a controversial issue, and incredibly rare.
April of '44.
Because the first picture that pops up is a slabbed version of Suspense Comics number 3 that has a 1.0 rating. So somebody actually took this book, probably out of a stack of incredibly well-read comics, and had it slabbed. So it must be an important book at a 1.0. There's a 6.5 also in the imagery section.
Well, it's commanding about 173,000 right now.
Oh, there's something that happened in it then.
Yeah, $173,275 worth.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, good on you, Mason. That's cool.
But so how can Mason get in, guys? I mean, well,
It's an Alex Schomburg cover, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't look at the cover. Hold on. I should.
One of the rarest comics in the world,
Ah.
with only an unknown few copies to be found, according to Comic Vine.
Yeah, let's see here.
John Giunta L.B. Cole, artist.
Are those Klansmen or are they Nazis?
They're
They
Nazi
look like a
Klansmen, they
combo
look like.
of the two. Yes, they look like Nazi. Well, it's probably they look like N-word Klansmen. Actually,
Wait, they can't have N-word Klansmen. Nazi. That's,
that's not what Dave Chappelle said.
yeah.
Anyway,
So how
it
can
does feature public domain characters, but I think the point is the scarcity of it.
Mhm.
That's what's really crazy. That's a hell of a cover, though. I don't
Yeah.
believe I've ever seen that cover before. That's Alex Schomburg? Is that
That's a
think that's
Schomburg,
what
yep.
the signature says.
So how can he
Amazing.
get in, guys? He wants to get in. He can't. So okay, Pat, running a okay, Ralph says if you got the extra money, just have fun with it. Ask questions, learn about the GoFundmes, and enjoy yourself. If you want to publish, what would you say, Pat? Starting a con, is it a waste of money?
If he wants to invest in a comic company,
I mean,
I could start
it's
one for him.
it's not a waste of money. It's you, but you have to have you have to have something that's going to bring people in, and you can't expect to make money off of it. Honestly, I mean, Reed is one of the only. I don't even know if Reed Pop turns a profit on their shows. Honestly, I mean, they have to be because they wouldn't be doing so many shows and everything. But it's if you're going to start one as just a comics fan, you need to have a focus, and you need to have a fan base that's going to be around.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up that cover.
Go ahead.
It is an incredibly awesome cover. I will tell
It
you
really
that.
is.
Did you guys show the cover? I didn't catch it. Yeah, here
Share
we go.
that screen. Tome.
Yeah, screw your question, Mason. We're just gonna show this cover.
There's that cover.
Yeah. Suspense cover.
I'm trying to scroll past this Christy McNichol picture.
So there it is. There it is. There's the
There's the cover.
yeah.
It's red cloaked, clans looking people.
They might
with-
be white cloak. They might be the fire.
That's a mighty big fire. I believe it's red. There's a guy in white here at the bottom shooting a machine gun. Alex Schomburg is a genius when it comes to laying out these covers. That's why he did so many of them, because there's so much action going on. You literally have to look at it for a few minutes to see it all. There's a guy here in the dark. A couple of guys here in well, supposedly guys. A couple of people back here in dark navy cloaks. Everybody else seems to be in a red cloak, except for this guy. These two guys in front, they seem to be in white with nice little red frills right
Yeah, he has. He's got some little.
He's got some red frills working.
Nice little lace.
Yep.
It's all about accessorizing.
An incredible menacing cover, though. That's really
Yeah.
striking.
So
The damsel being under the knife. Yeah, that's a hell of a cover.
It is. And Christy McNichols has left nothing to the imagination. But anyway, that's
So
another
what
story.
would
And Comics Vine says that it is exceptionally rare, one of the rarest comics in the world, with only an unknown few copies to be found. So
well,
good on you, my friend.
how does he get into comics at this point? He wants to get back
I
to the
think you're
industry.
kind of into comics now with that great little piece. So.
That
But
might
yeah,
be enough
my big
finance.
my big recommendation to him is to get into the business, and by that I mean snoop around a lot, go and talk to people and decide what's going to work for you. You don't. If you're set up wrong, you start a business or you start a store, it is going to turn into a waste of money if without your research. If you start a con without doing your research and knowing what other cons are around you, you don't want to run into competition or step on anybody's toes, it can turn into a waste of money. Absolutely. Do your research, decide where you want to step in and step in. And publishing right now, there's so many different avenues to run with, thanks to the crowdfunding options now, that it's really exciting times to get into the business. You might end up being an editor-in-chief or publisher if you find some good talent that you can trust to corral other talent in to do products for you. And then even that is incredibly risky, and you have to know the market, you have to do your research, and you have to be ready to make a couple of stumbles before you really start making any money at it.
Pat, there's a store up there you guys are attached to, right?
Yeah, Top Comics here in Traverse City. Yep. Mike, who is the owner of the con, also owns the shop as well. So they're awesome. They're actually getting ready to move the store to a new location. So
Okay.
it's been the same location for about 15 years, I think, and they're gonna move it, gain some square footage, be able to do some more events and stuff in there too. So,
Cool.
but I mean, with this question, really, it's finding what you want to do. I mean, even editing and things like that, like just read people, talk to friends you have that are making stuff and read their scripts and give them feedback. That's editing. I mean, you're involved. You're involved in the process now. And I think he'd be surprised if he started putting pencil to page. He's probably got a story to tell.
Yeah,
that he just doesn't know.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you want to be in this industry, you just got to kind of jump in. I think if it's like parenting, you're never going to be ready, so just jump in there and see what you can do. But don't be surprised if we kick you out too, because we don't want to.
L. Nolan, our friend L.
Yeah.
How long until Marvel or DC starts buying up indie comic companies again, like they did in the '90s? Which ones? As far as I know, only Marvel came in and bought up Malibu in the '90s, right? Or was that the early 2000s? I'm not sure of any other company that they came in and bought up outside of swiping talent here and there. Companies like Removed,
That's right.
and Aftershock and Vault are ripe. I don't know about that either, because if you look at these guys' numbers, I don't know what to tell you there about being ripe. Usually when DC buys up a company, it's a company that's pretty default or pretty defunct, and they buy up the IPs like they did with Quality when they inherited Blackhawk and Plastic Man and Uncle Sam and Black Condor and that group of characters. Or when they buy up Charlton. And they bought Charlton out of the kindness of their heart because Dick Giordano was really associated with that company and had built a lot of those IPs up personally and wanted to still do them. So they went in and bought Charlton, which was Blue Beetle, Captain Atom, The Question, and that group. Marvel, on the other hand, they went in and bought Malibu. And they bought Malibu, they said initially up front, they bought Malibu for the coloring system, but anybody that was in the business at the time, because Photoshop was just coming in. Hi, Sim. Was just coming in. But anybody that was in the business at the time, especially if they had done work for Malibu, knew why Marvel acquired Malibu, and that's because Malibu was giving the talent a living wage. They were doing well and doing incredibly well, getting paid by the money that Malibu was paying, and it was by far way above what Marvel and DC was paying. So they picked up Malibu, shut Malibu down. Now, in order for that talent to have to go back and work at Marvel and DC for the lower rates.
Yeah, and I think that none of these companies really need to sell right now either. They're making money.
You mean no?
I mean, okay.
All of these companies, I think, are struggling, especially the companies that he's mentioning here.
Like the company I removed was actually Alterna, but he put a derogatory comment in there. So
L. Nolan doesn't enjoy Samedi's work.
I don't know what his problem is.
Was it? Well, and we don't have to go there. But
Yeah.
there are. I don't think any of these current independent companies are attracting Marvel or DC, because the Marvel and DC right now isn't positive that they're going to be hanging on to these companies for much longer themselves. I mean, the printing end of those companies, not the IPs. The IPs are making billions of dollars in movies and cartoons and Underoos and all of this. But the comics aren't making that much money.
Steve says they won't. Ultimately, it's not worth it to Disney and the WB to print comics. They mostly keep Marvel and DC open to avoid negative press on the movies. They would only buy a company to get the rights to the character.
That's right.
And,
yeah.
There's
not a whole lot of characters out there that they can't IP their way around.
What are you saying, Pat? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was agreeing. There's nothing out there. There's some really good stuff out there that, and really the only one who has any kind of commercial recognition of products is image, and they don't own any of their IP.
Yeah.
You know, their creators own all the IP, so there's no
Oopsie, yes.
no
Yeah.
benefit. And most of the other comics companies too. I mean, some of them have some IP, but it's all creator owned IPs now.
Yeah.
None of them are owning the IP because nobody wants to give up their licensing rights anymore.
Yeah.
For good reason, because if you get picked up, you're making money, whether
Yeah.
whether it gets made, whatever happens, you're making money off your IP, and that's where it's at. I mean, there's a lot of people making it for the passion of making them, but there's a number of people who are making them to try and hit that payday. And you know, I mean, look, we just had Lock and Key just dropped. You know, that just dropped to Netflix, and I mean, what else do we got? I mean, The Boys just happened, and there's so many
A lot of
different.
money out there. Yeah. A lot of people are writing for that.
Yep.
Last question we got, and then we can go.
Plus,
oh.
to end all that, Disney and AT&T are really not looking to get much into the print business, because in their minds, print is passé, and that the physical comic is to them is mostly a thing of the past. So they're not looking to acquire any other independent company.
Yep.
So if there's an independent company out there printing product, hoping that they're going to be gobbled up by Marvel and DC, well, they might have another thing coming.
Steve says everyone knows about Bill Finger and Jerry Schuster now. Those trick you out of your character deals don't work anymore. And he's got a good point about that. I'm gonna put the last question up.
I'm not getting new comments to pop up on my board, just so you know.
No.
I've got that little panel again that says new comments with the arrow pointed down.
Lola, do you see anything?
And when I hit on it, they don't come up.
Okay.
The last comment I've got is from 943.
Yeah, those tricky character deals don't work anymore. Now here's the last question that we have, and then we're going to start talking to Pat about.
No,
his
the rivals. You're right. The trick you out of your character doesn't work anymore, but trick you out of your royalties for your character. Some of those are still in play.
If somebody's trying to buy your property, get a lawyer.
Yeah. Here we go, Randy. You got to read
AB,
the. Let me preface this.
What?
This guy's a moron. But all right, go ahead.
He listens to us. He can't be a complete moron.
Go ahead.
What's that?
Read it with the correct vitriol that it deserves.
Should I talk to him like a moron? Or... what's our radio number right now?
We are at 1132.
Into the 4 digits.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm all
all
for
'cause
a
I'm here.
reinstatement of the comics code. Grant?
That's me.
Huh? That word Grant was you?
Yeah, I'm Grant.
Oh.
He never calls me by my name.
Oh, I thought it was a grant for the comics code.
No.
Like if you
It's
did
me.
the comics code, you got money.
Yeah, no.
No. You're still dodging putting me on your show, too. When are you going to man up and have a civil convo? Or are you just going to keep slap boxing and jabbing at the god? Which god is that?
Him.
He considers himself a god?
AV, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. The TVMA is up there, okay? From the bottom of my heart. Fuck off. The code is dead. It's never coming back. You can argue all you want. You can start all the Facebook pages you want saying, bring the comics code back. Are you a moron? The comics code? Oh, yeah, we'll bring the comics code back. And right after that, what is bring back on Jim Crow and everything else, too? Why don't we bring it all back? No, the originals, huh? The hard hitters. The old classics. This idiot segregation. Hey, I can't drink from the same water fountain as my wife. Nice. This idiot wants to bring back the Comics Code Authority because his comics suck.
Personally, I think that was a little harsh analogy there, comparing the Comic Code Authority to the Jim Crow laws. But hey, go for it.
That's right. That's why I went there.
I'm not gonna lie. When you start talking about the water fountain, I'm thinking like, man, it's your wife.
She can drink from the good water fountain. I get the old rusty one in the corner. I see how it is. Kind of like the bed situation now. I get this little small sliver of bed. Anyway,
Well, that's just a marriage problem. That ain't got nothing to do with anything else.
Josh wants to chat with this AB guy.
yeah, there you go. I've told AB he can come on. He can come on. I'm just gonna call him an idiot the entire time. Yeah, we can have Josh.
Oh,
on
now
it.
come on. He's entitled to his opinion, even if it is backwards and uninformed, ill-informed.
My question, if he wants the comics code back on, who sits on the council? Who's the council? Because
Me.
I mean, the comics code was a joke to begin with.
No.
They did it to stick it to the government because the
No,
government
no.
wanted them to grade themselves and censor themselves.
Nope. Nope.
It's the MPAA of comics.
Go back and look at your history. That's all.
The government was going to come down on them and censor them, so they created the comics code. That's how I understood the history.
That's not how it works.
Huh.
That's a perception. Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a perception. The real reason the code was enacted was so some of these publishing companies can control that spiral rack, because that spiral rack only had so many slots on it, and they wanted as many for themselves as they possibly could. And there were a couple of companies out there, Burroughs Company, I'm trying to think of what the name of it was, Charles Burroughs Company and MC Gaines Company, were raging at the time. They were moving a lot of product really hard, and they were insulted by the quality of the product at the adult level of the product, because Crime Does Not Pay was selling incredibly well, and all of the horror titles that MC was doing as EC Comics were just raging on the stands. Now, Wortham's book was a nice excuse, that Seduction of the Innocent, which is really pure claptrap if you ever get a chance to look at it and read it. And that they had him up there in front of Congress because they needed an excuse to blame juvenile delinquency on something.
Claptrap was also named my first girlfriend. Go ahead.
Claptrap?
Yeah.
That may be her nickname.
Yeah, it was her nickname. High school nickname. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm using old speak.
Found out about
Old
that
man,
the hard
old
way.
speak. But yeah, they did have the hearings, and the hearings lasted for a long time. MC, the guy who does EC Comics, was very pissed at those hearings. And he went in both directions during those hearings, because those hearings lasted for so long. He said, okay, they want to see some violent content. I'm going to give them some violent content. And those are probably some of the most disturbing horror comics that EC had ever printed come out during that period. Then he said, okay, that's not working, because these people are still mad at what we're doing. So then he tried to make his own rating authority, that he was going to adhere to a set of guidelines to guarantee family standards, basically, and to it was a lot easier than what the CCA ended up being. The CCA, if you look at the original CCA, and it's out there. I'm sure it's out there on the web that has all of the rules on it. If not, then Les Daniels' History of Comics in America book has it completely listed. Two of the big rules that the CCA automatically enacted was you could not have the word horror and you could not have the word crime on your cover. And they did that on purpose in order to slam out EC and Burroughs. Burroughs' book was selling a couple of million an issue. Oh, I just lost my hat. Let me find it here.
It's going to destroy everything.
I know.
While you're doing that, about this question, Rival Steve says, I'd at least be willing to hear his argument, but I don't want him to get upset when I start asking questions.
I can't remember what the company was, but it was the Crime Does Not Pay comic was moving just millions of copies at the time, and the other publishing companies were really, really upset at it.
Steve also says you're also free to create your own comics authority with a code of conduct that's called something else. If you think there's money in it, do it. Rob says, this is the wisest show ever. I can't complain. You asked me to watch this. This is torturing me for the hate mail. Worst show. Yeah, the worst show. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's talking about that show that Lola told him to watch, Bonded. Yeah. I'll chat with this AB guy.
I'm sorry, Rob.
She's sorry, Rob. just use the Not for Wussies label. They were Worst Show Dance Battle Shack.
Not for Woodsie's label. Yeah, that would be good.
Gleason Books is what Ralph is saying.
Okay.
Gleason?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, Ralph. Thanks. I'm brain farting. But yeah, Gleason Publications. That both of those companies ended up going out of business because of the newly enacted Code Authority. Even though they tried and tried and tried to get around those rules, the CCA was constantly, because of that board that you were talking about, was just constantly rejecting their stuff and giving them a really hard time to survive. But that's why, if you look, I love comics history because it's an example of the independent spirit in America. Because every time somebody gets screwed and they figure out how to get around that in order to make money and get beyond that hurdle. Gaines ended up stopping comics altogether. Gleason got out of the business completely, from what I understand, and got into publishing more pulp and like LA Confidential type magazines. Gaines tried to do comics in magazine form, couldn't quite make it, just like what Warren ended up doing later for the Warren magazines, Eerie and Creepy, Vampirella, and that. But instead, he took his humor title and ran with it because he was making so much money on it, and Mad Magazine ran consecutively all up until last year.
We got 1774 listening live on IndieVolt Radio all over different platforms.
Absolutely
Appreciate
incredible.
you guys listening.
Appreciate each and every one of you.
We're gonna kick Randy off his soapbox real quick.
Yeah, sorry, I'm ranting. You get me on comics history, I can go for a while.
But
Jabber on and on and on and on.
AB, you're welcome to come on the show. But and Josh, let's talk to you about it. I can't believe you want Comics Code Authority back though. That's almost like asking for communism. But
We
you know,
need a
they want that now
definition.
too. So
We need a definition from him as to what he thinks the Code Authority was, because I don't think a whole lot of people have actually sat down and read what the original code was all about.
yeah, reach out to us. Reach out to us. Well, show me what your code is. I'll run it past Randy. We'll have you on the show, and we'll have a nice audience. Have a nice round table.
Because one of the main reasons the code broke in the what was it, the 90s, I believe it was Swamp Thing and some of the Marvel titles, was because the board could not agree on exactly what their rules were. One issue would be fine, and then 2 or 3 issues up the storyline, they'd tell them it wasn't fine for the reason or for a main plot point that was in the story.
Right.
And Swamp Thing was a big one on that. And Swamp Thing, the guys on Swamp Thing said, "Hey, look, we're just going to run it without the code because you guys are nuts."
So Pat,
And that's what really started Vertigo also. You know, it was one of the big helping hurdles in the development of Vertigo as a line for DC to
gonna
aim
mute
at a
Randy in a
more
second.
adult comic. Am I on the soapbox again?
Yeah, I'm gonna mute you in a second. Pat, you've got your Comic Con that comes up. CherryCapitalCon.com. They can go there. You guys got a nice guest list this year. I'm on it. I'm coming to the show. I'm not necessarily a guest, but
Nobody ever invites me.
yeah. You it's a really good show. I remember my first year doing that show. My first year actually coming to that show, it was really awkward because I was doing some mentoring at this point, and I was 27, and there was a young lady who wanted to go to the show. She never been to Comic-Con before, and I was told about the show pretty late, and I called. I'm not sure who I spoke to, but they said, "Oh, tables are all sold out. We're sorry," but I said, "Okay, well, not a problem. I'll just come up there and walk around and see how it is." And this was 2008, 2009, maybe.
Oh yeah, it'd be like year 2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah. So and you guys are still on like the first level, like walk
Yep.
in, walk to the left, and walk in these doors. And it was a smaller show at that point. And I remember walking in, but I felt really bad because I'm 27, and I'm walking around with this 16-year-old girl, and I'm like, oh my God, people probably think that I'm like the biggest, like, you drove that 16-year-old girl 4 hours up here? I didn't. Her father drove her. I came by myself. No, crime does not pay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Crime does not pay. And but that was my first time.
And you were already nervous because you were north of Bay City.
Yeah, I was terrified. I'm up there. I can't.
Terrified.
I don't see any graffiti. What the hell's going on? I'm in a hostile environment, surrounded people want to whoop my ass. Except being back in high school. So But that was our first year. And then coming back to the show, you guys at that point moving to the larger area, and you've been expanding ever since. I think the whole area down there is taken now.
Yeah,
You,
yeah. So yeah, we year 5 we moved down. Man, was it year 5? Yeah, that sounds right. Year 5 we moved downstairs into the ballroom and had 2/3 of it filled with show floor. We still had the game room and the panel room connected. Like a third of the main room was all that. Year 10 we'd hit that tipping point where like, man, year 9 the aisles were so crammed. Like people were complaining that they couldn't get through. So we're like, well, we've hit that number, and so now we basically take over the entire lower level of this. I mean, it's a 4-star resort. I mean, this is a major resort up here. It's a beautiful place that they just they are extremely nice to us to put up with us on a holiday weekend, and many people told us, oh, when we moved to Memorial Day, we bounced around for like the first 3 or 4 years of finding that groove. What was the weekend? What was our weekend? And we, the resort's like, hey, if you go to this weekend, this would be great for us because nobody wants to book a convention on a holiday weekend. So we've been there since, and people are like, oh, Memorial Day, that's a terrible weekend. That's awful weekend. And we find that people love it. It's usually a pretty nice weekend. So the guests come up, they enjoy the city, they enjoy the area. It's absolutely beautiful. There's golf, there's swimming, there's all these different things to do there. So it's, we have the great con, but we have all these other amenities that everybody can come experience something. But we pride ourselves on that show being something for everybody on the floor too. So
and I'll be honest, I've gotten quite bougie. I refuse to go into the other hotel rooms. No, the rooms. No. I'm a tower bitch. I have to sleep in the tower. I look down on the others, and I say, I'm in the tower. Plus, the tower, it's a lot easier for me to get to my room after I've gotten wasted. And after I drink, it's a lot easier for me to get.
Nobody drinks at Comic Cons. Come on.
Yeah, sure. I do enjoy it. And now you guys, and the thing is too, you still keep a nice amount of people, being that you're the weekend after one of the largest shows here in Michigan.
Yeah, it's and I think for the next 2 years we actually have a buffer weekend, so we're kind of happy because when there's 5 weekends in May, we get that buffer weekend. So, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, Motor City, it's not hurt us. And in fact, there's been times it's helped. We've been super lucky in the relationships we've had. In our second year, we had Steve Dillon at the show. Steve Dillon actually came up twice for C4 in year 2 and year 4, and I mean that's a humongous guest for a teeny tiny little show that was getting like 800 people in year 2.
I always feel like sometimes like I'm out of state when I'm at that show. Then I realize I'm not. I'm still in Michigan, and I know. And at one point, no, maybe I've been Mandela affected here, but at one point it was C3.
It was C3. Yep. Yeah. Originally it was Cherry Capital Con, which is why our website's still Cherry Capital Con. In year 4 or 5, when we moved downstairs, we did the marketing switch of the hey, C4 is blowing up. That's why you look at the logo. It has it looks like a cherry bomb. Yeah. Yep. Perfect. Yeah. It's it has that great that effect of it's blowing up C4 and it just we're getting bigger, so we wanted to make sure we put that comic word back in there just to make sure people knew that, because that's where we focus. We've had some media guests. We've had a couple of people in the past, and they're great, and we love having them. But we really focus on the comic creators.
I like that it's I see a lot of indie people there. And that's always really. Jason Moore says, absolutely love the Cherry Capital show. It's a great, cozy, friendly show at an awesome venue. Hope to be a guest again this year. That's for sure. And yeah, here's some list of people: Bill Morrison, Angel Medina, Jay Fosgett, and my face is not there yet. Dan Daughtery, Source Point Press, canceled appearances. No canceled appearances yet. But it you know, and hopefully I don't. You guys don't get many cancellations.
No,
It's
we don't.
just
We
the
don't usually.
start.
It happened. We had, unfortunately, Daryl Banks had a death in the family last year. That's kind of why that got put there. So he was unable to attend last year after we announced him. So we're working to have Daryl back in the future. So we'll hopefully have that. Yeah, there's more guest announcements coming. We've got some stuff signed. We're waiting to make some announcements, but I think over the next probably 3 to 4 weeks, you'll see some big news coming out of there, and that guest page is gonna blow up and see some big things. And then the Artist Alley and exhibitors are gonna get loaded up on the website over the next few days.
Cool.
We're just the 1st of February is like our busy time, because that's when we get our all of our applications approved, and we start sending out acceptance letters. And we had the second largest number of applications for Artist Alley we've ever had this year.
Xylon says, how big is this event?
About 3,500 people over the weekend. We usually have right around 20. Yeah, I think it's about 20 vendors and about 75 Artist Alley tables, plus 8 to 10 guests each year. So.
Yeah, it's a growing show. I remember my first year I went versus the first year that year when you guys were up in the first section. Was it still a multi-day show at that point?
Yeah, we've always been a multi-day show.
Yeah.
We started right out at multi-day.
Okay.
I think, the first year I think it was just Saturday, Sunday, but I'm pretty sure it was year 2 that we went to 3-day with that short preview night on Friday night.
And Randy runs a show in Flint, and you guys do something very similar. You both have people to come out and help you load in.
Oh yeah, that's important.
And that is when you're tired, or you've been driving and load out when you're tired and stuff. That's a lifesaver. That can make a lot of difference.
Oh yeah, I think that's very important. But for us, it's kind of a practical move, because it gets people in. Because both of my shows are in farmers markets, so things can get really crazy and busy. So it's better to have somebody there just to bring all of the stock in, and then have them move their car and set up. So.
Yeah, and we've got basically we load in a fire lane. So we have to be super quick of turning those people of like,
there you go.
Come on, get your stuff in, get it to your booth, and get the car out of here. And the quicker we could turn that over, the better. Last year was absolutely insanity, because it's the first year we've ever had an event in the space bumping right up against us. Like they had an event finishing up the morning of.
You weren't showing off prize chickens, were you? Because I've been at a show where they were showing off prize chickens in the new stadium.
No, just a conference that was finishing up that morning. They had like one last speaker and finished up at like 12 or 1, and the show floor opens at 5.
Wow.
So like a third of the show floor is like turned in 2 hours.
Yeah. I remember that, because I got there and I remember getting in and setting up everything up as best I could, and running upstairs, taking a shower, and coming back downstairs. There's a time where you're able to sign into your room, and I think it's after 3, so you're like,
it's about 3 o'clock. Yeah.
But they were very nice. They let me get in early.
And they'll usually, if they're with us, they'll do their best.
Yeah.
Obviously they can't always, but they try their best to allow that, so that people aren't checking in at midnight.
Exactly. Look, I got your page up here. Getting the Game, a comic anthology. Again, you're at 4,544 of a $6,000 goal. 8 days left. 114 people backing you so far on Kickstarter. I'm gonna play the video here.
Oh God,
no, don't do that.
Oh yeah, I'll let Randy play the video here.
Don't do that. Let me pull mine up.
or just don't do it at all.
Yeah. Is it bad? Is it?
It's not good.
Oh, we definitely gotta play it now.
I'm not a video editing wizard. Yeah.
Now it sounds like a must.
Yeah, no, we have to play it.
It'll look very familiar.
Here we go. Are you sharing sound, Randy?
I am.
Yeah.
There's no sound. There we
Hey
go.
everybody, my name is Pat Kawula,
Hey, that
and I'm
does
one of
look
the
familiar.
people behind Get in the Game. Get in the Game is an anthology comic full of 8-page stories from 10 different creative teams, all around one central premise: video games. And you might ask, why video games? When I decided to make this anthology about a year ago, I really wasn't sure what theme I wanted to have for the submissions. So I kind of fell back to the old adage of write what you know. And since I know video games so well and they've been such a big part of my life, I decided to make that jump and offer that prompt to the people who wanted to submit their stories. It was a very simple premise, and while you might think that you're going to end up with a lot of different stories that are just a retelling of Zelda or Final Fantasy or Super Mario Brothers, it really isn't. It's something completely different, completely unique, very deep, heartfelt stories, some of which are funny, some of which are very serious, but all of which are excellently crafted, very well written, extraordinarily well done art. It was a labor of love for everybody involved in this, some of which were first-time writers and artists, some veterans in the indie comics industry. I was very blessed for the response on this, and I hope that you find something here that you like. But regardless, thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you back the project.
Awesomeness.
Yeah, that's cool. And 76% of its goal, you are almost there.
Almost.
Yeah.
Are you?
114 backers, 8 days to go.
Yeah, we've had some great success in the past few days. We'd hit like just shy of 4,000, and it kind of, it was like, oh, let's just boom, 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 and it wouldn't quite clear that hurdle for like 4 days, and I'm just like, but yeah, the past few days we've had some great success. The as you're scrolling, I see right now you're on the Kickstarter exclusive cover. That one right there is created by Corinne Roberts, who is just a master of watercolors. When I decided to do a Kickstarter exclusive, I'm like, I just love her style. And above that was the other one that's actually Ryan Lee who did that. And Ryan Lee is currently working on the IDW book Mountainhead. And he's done covers for Exo Man of War and a bunch of different parts of it. But he really just kind of knocked the cover off the ball with this one, with the 2D style versus the more realistic 3D cartoony style. It was just super lucky to have those guys making stuff for this.
And I got a chance to read the book before anybody else, so be jealous. And the stories are I've read a couple of the stories. A couple of them are very they're slice of life, even though they're video game based. Like I think was it Logging Out is one of the ones that you take a step back after you read it. You're like, oh, I didn't know it was gonna go here. That's a good. Did you feel like when you were creating any of these stories, was it easier because it was video game based, or you knew you were gonna have to mix real life in there some way?
Well, I was really surprised by all the submissions because I really did. When I put that out, the reason I talk about this isn't all Zelda retellings. That's what I was worried about. Like when I'm making a call for submissions for stories, I'm like, man, what if everybody just wants to tell a story about licensed properties and stuff? I'm like, I'm not feeling that. That's not where I'm going with this. And there's some influences. There's probably some boundary pushing in there of stuff. But really, there were a lot of people who just took it and really kind of examined their life through the lens of video games and finding ways to tell that. Like, it's not all just being in a video game. It's some of it's about how video games affect your life, or even viewing your life as a video game. Save and Continue is a great example of that. Of it's not necessarily that it's about the playing of the video games or anything like that. It's about there's elements of life that feel like a video game, and there's we're leveling up this, or we're doing that, and we're spending coins and this and that. Like, but that one is a powerful story, and that was like, I can't wait for everybody to read all of these, but that one there is one that I think people will put the book down and just go, whoa.
Yeah. That's and the book is shipping in May 2020.
Yep.
You've got a lot of fantastic art. I've seen Emily Zelasco, Kaylin Smith. You got a ton of artists on here. I'm not in here. I don't know how I'm getting in here, but whatever. Once again, overlooked. Once again, I see how it is.
We just missed the open call.
Yeah, we missed the open call. That's okay. That's okay. There's always the good thing about video games is they get sequels. So.
There's been people. I've had a few people ask that question, and I'm like, let's get through this one first, and then I'll make sure. Then I'll see if I want to go to divorce court when my wife says, "You're doing another one."
Gotta be careful. Yep. Gotta be careful.
You said you were gonna do one, and that was it, Pat. I see how you are.
But I did have fun. I did have a ton of fun with this, working with these amazing creators. It's been a blessing. And really just seeing how that process works and seeing people bring things to life, and finding these great workers who, there's a couple like Isaac Bergman. He's in a few of these because he did some color work on a bunch of the other ones. He did his own story, and then some people weren't comfortable doing colors, so he's like, I'll do it. I'm trying to do more of that type of work. So yeah. It's been great to see people doing that, and just the little things that people wanted to. I'm like, what kind of stuff do we want to put in here? What kind of stuff do we want to add to sweeten this campaign? And like Dave Herndon and Emily Zelasco and Isaac all came up with great pin designs, and then sitting there talking with Kaylin and Rob, and Kaylin did that great cover on Save and Continue with the guy holding the NES cartridge, and it's very significant once you read the story. But I was like, what if we brought that to life? What if that actually existed?
Yeah,
and so that's one of the reward tiers is we're bringing that like NES cartridge to life. So
I seen a video game story, very quick story. This guy posted on his it was one of those click here for this heartwarming story about video games. Might have been on like GameSpot or something like that. But this guy said that he plugged up his old PS2 when he was a young kid, and one of the a game was still in there, and the memory card, when you retire that system, you kind of just pack it away or you set it aside in the shelf and you never touch it again, and so your controller's still plugged up, the old memory card's still in there. And he said he decided to fire the game up for old time's sakes. And it was one of the Ridge Racer games, I think it was, and he's playing it, and this car, he's playing the time lapse, and it's being timed against himself and other racers.
I know where you're going with this.
This car goes around him, and it's like, and he looks at the name on the car, and it's his father who had passed away. It's his father's last recorded track time. And so he's trying to beat his dad, and he's really playing against his dad because that's his dad, playing the game and recorded his dad's last movements on that game. And I mean, I'm sitting there reading the story, and the tears run down my eyes. My wife is calling me all type of softies, and video games they become almost. I mean, I'm weird. I think I've cried at video games. I've cried at comics. I was surprised at. I don't know if I cried at a video game. I think I've cried at what video games meant to me. Like again, my father, seeing some of his saves on Tetris are still kind of emotional. But like comic books, I think I've cried at comic books. I think Pride of Baghdad was the first comic I cried about, and then there's a scene in is it Flash Rebirth where Flash comes back and gives Batman a note from his dad. And I was, it was my fault because Dennis Barger told me not to read it. And I read it, and then I was crying like a blithering baby. And this book is going to make me cry too. So I know what you're doing, Pat. You want me to cry at these comic books, and I'm gonna sue you for therapy. Because
That's your,
I've
estrogen levels, buddy.
yeah, I've gone through the books and I've read some stories and ones in printed form. Now are you gonna have this book available at C4 for anybody who can't get into the campaign?
That is the plan. You know, barring any crazy print delays or something like that. Like, there's some things that need to be buttoned up from like the last bits, like the back cover and stuff like that. But the stories themselves are all print ready, so it's literally just the extra assets to for those last few pages, credits pages and ISBN numbers and all that, all that fun backside stuff that's got to be done. But submit it to the Library of Congress,
Yeah. Justin says Shadow of the Colossus and Brothers Make Me Cry, and Josh Lyman said Here Comes the Racer Car. Yeah, man, that's it, dude. I could not play Tetris against my dad at this point. If I seen his old score up there, I'm like, I can't play this. I will. Yeah, like it's gonna suck. I'm the kid that kept a voicemail, the tape of my father on the answer machine for years. Still have it. Him calling the house and leaving a message like a week before he passed away. I still have that message, still have that tape. So I know if I had him on a video game. That's a lot of these stories on here in this book, they really touch you, and they're not just like we hear, oh, getting the game is gonna be a book full of action, and that is there. But there are some stories you take something away from, and it's a good book. For your first book, not bad, Pat, not bad.
Well, thank you.
Not bad. You done good. $4,544, $6,000 goal. If you're listening on IndieVolt Radio, you definitely pop over. You can find it. Get in the Game, a comic anthology on Kickstarter. I have to ask a question from IndieVolt Radio, Pat. Why Kickstarter? Why not Indiegogo?
I think it's mostly just I'm more familiar with Kickstarter. I've never really explored Indiegogo, to be perfectly honest, and that's to me it was a comfort thing. I know there was a good chunk of controversy. Actually, apparently a lot of the controversy at Kickstarter resolved itself today. So with a historic union vote there, but. I think it was for more than anything. It was just comfort because I knew the platform and I knew a number of people who had used the platform. Kaylin Smith used this platform to great success. So I think it was nothing against any other platform other than just unfamiliarity.
We now that you have a Kickstarter, and once you do close this out. You can actually now take it and go to Indiegogo or run an in-demand campaign. As long as you have a successfully funded campaign on Kickstarter, you can go to Indiegogo and make a in-demand campaign, which is, pretty odd they would do that, but yeah, they want that money too. They want to put you in a different tax bracket so you can blame us later. Then you'll be on here. How come you guys didn't tell me? What?
all those taxes.
Yeah. Are you Well, so you got getting the game. Any other projects you're working on after this, or you don't want to say it because you don't want to end up in divorce court? I understand.
Nothing currently specifically planned. I have been putting together a, for lack of a better term, a brand Bible for a universe I'm building, with a story that I've been trying to put together. It's still very early. I haven't actually put together any actual scripts. It's still a lot of character bios and what's the universe like. But the plan is it's going to be probably a 5 or 6, depending on if there's a character I may cut or not. It all depends. But I'm going for a really interesting standpoint because I want to take it and I want to create one story around the 5 or 6 main characters and retell the same timeline through the 6 books, all from their different point of view. So like it won't all be the exact same events, but they'll all be centrally tied together with like a keystone moment that brings those characters together. But telling it from all those different points of view, and just that one event time frame. So that's the plan. That's what I've been working on, but not to a point that it's anywhere where it's in the near future yet. I haven't even pitched it to an artist or anything yet. So
I want to address a question we got. Lola does this thing where she takes shots every time someone donates $5, and she's got a book she's working on. So she has a tip jar, and someone asked, and Germs just submitted $5, but he asked, "Where's the tip jar?" The tip jar isn't there on Lola's screen. Usually, you'll see coins fall into it. The graphic isn't there because it's really, really taxing on the system for some reason, and it makes her come across really, really grainy. And we know people like to see Lola, so figure, okay, we could drop the tip jar, and I just got to make sure that I keep an eye on it. So she did get $5 from Germs, but he wanted to know where was the tip jar. Germs, I am working to get that tip jar back up there so you can you guys can keep track of it.
It
So
should be up tomorrow, hopefully.
we're gonna let Pat pick the color that she drinks. Pat,
I'll do the flavor.
yeah, give Pat the flavors. And he's gonna pick a flavor for you to drink, Lola.
I got cherry.
So can he hear you here? Activate your mic. Okay.
Can everybody hear me now?
yeah, there we go.
Okay, so I got cherry, I got watermelon, I got sour apple, and I got tropical punch.
Oh, it's always sour apple. I mean, sour apple's always the best.
All right. Not for me. Watermelon's my favorite.
I think Lola hates me now.
She'll flip you off at C4.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a normal daily occurrence at C4 from somebody.
Her first time doing this, she ended up $45 worth of tips. Yeah, she was bad that night. Yeah, she does. Gears of War, she's made me cry a few times, especially the third one and fifth one. Don't know if you played. I've played Gears of War. Yeah, I haven't cried at Gears of War, but I only played the first one. I didn't play the second and third ones. Randy, you ever cried at a comic book?
Nick Gibson says the ending of Link's Awakening always makes me bawl like a baby.
I'm with you there, Nick. That's a tough ending.
I don't know. I can't ever remember crying at the end of a comic book. I remember being upset that some of the comics were done that I really enjoyed. But and there are some key passages that I've gone back and reread that sends a chill up the back of your neck that are incredibly well written books. But I don't ever remember one affecting me so much that I was bawling.
I remember there's some that send chills up. There's one was it? It's Wayne McDuffie when the bird gets out of the cage and flies and hits the window. It's like, just because you're out of the cage doesn't mean you're free. It's like, yeah, it's like, wow, oh,
right in the feels.
Yeah. Like I thought like, thanks, Dwayne. I feel horrible today. I'm just gonna go lay back in bed.
I'm thinking the Daredevil 168, if I'm not mistaken, the first appearance of Elektra, where she died at the, or didn't die at the end of it, but the, I think she leaves Matt Murdock on the dock in the rain, if I'm not mistaken. Was a particularly hard one. Incredibly well done by Miller, especially for one of his first times out writing.
Prior to Baghdad for me was it's about these lions escape from the Baghdad Zoo, and I hope they never make a movie. Because I ain't gonna be able to handle it. I'm gonna be in the theater. I mean, and this, listen, Lola's picked on me several times now because we're watching Endgame, and I'm over there bawling.
Oh, if you didn't cry at the end of Endgame, you're a monster.
She is. She's a monster. Even the 9-year-old cried. She's a monster. She nothing phases her. It's like,
I have a black heart.
Yeah, apparently.
I have a pretty black heart myself, but man, I was like, I'm straight up just when Pepper looks at him and says that line of it's okay, I'm just like.
It's not okay.
It's not okay, Pepper.
Nothing's ever gonna be okay again.
In the
Rob
Flashpoint,
says
Batman.
end of Flashpoint when Batman
Yep.
read the note from his dad.
That's definitely a good point, Rob.
And Dennis Barger said not to read it, and I said fuck that, and I went in there immediately and I read it, and Waterworks.
That's a good one too, Nick.
Nick Gibson says, "Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good."
Because when Spider Sense went off, he knew what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That, I mean, you know what got me? I mean, it's Endgame, like the last 10 minutes of Endgame. It's like, but I remember crying when he said, when Cap says Avengers Assemble. I got watery eyed, but little daughter, I forgot her name, Little Stark, when she says,
Melanie, right? Melody?
No, it was something else. I forgot her name. But she says,
Somebody will tell us in the chat right now.
Yeah,
What's
somebody's
the name
going
of...
to because it's
Morgan Stark.
Morgan Stark.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
When
Morgan.
she's sitting there happy, and she says, "I want cheeseburgers."
Yeah.
I'll get you all the cheeseburgers you want. Like Happy and her, that was a that was a tough scene too. Like it
couldn't have been on set. Couldn't have been on set.
Oh, dude, like I don't know how some of them made it through this. Like,
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, Morgan.
It there's been some just emotional moments and some great movies.
I like that. I don't remember if it was in the movie or not, but when everybody drops to their knee, I thought that was incredible.
That's in. Yeah,
that's in the movie. Or
yeah.
I remember them making a big deal about it as kind of a deleted scene.
Everybody except Gamora.
Yeah, that's the scene they added to the movie when they re-released it to break the record. The 17 extra seconds or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, we got 17 extra seconds you haven't seen. Check it out. Really?
And people flocked to the theater and they
I was one of those idiots. I was like, come on, let's go back. No,
I ain't nothing idiot about it. That was worthwhile. Like, I mean, and they were fun scenes. Yeah. It's just good fun scenes. Well, I mean, not the knee, but I will say I didn't cry when he yelled Avengers Assemble, but after 10 years, I stood up out of my chair and screamed.
Definitely a geek moment when all the doors opened up.
Everybody
started coming through, and you're like,
who can I see? Who's there? They all there.
Who's there? Who's there? Yeah.
Justin says, great show. I am now going to pour a scotch and cry myself to sleep and watch Endgame. Definitely do that. Guys, and we still got a couple minutes left here, but Pat, now we always play a little game on the show. You haven't played it in a while, and I'm not gonna bring out the wheel. Don't worry.
Don't bring out the wheel.
Show was such a bad example, very and awful. What show? What show was bad?
It's not his fault.
Yeah.
It's my fault.
Yeah. Lola's.
Wait a minute. Are you going to ask him who his favorite Marvel character is?
Oh, you unmuted me?
No.
Rob, it's not his fault. It's my fault. I told him to tell you about the show because I'm watching it for some research purposes. So don't blame him. You can blame me.
It's called Bonding.
It's on Netflix. It's called Bonding. If anybody's interested in watching it.
It's about the sex.
No, it's about BDSM.
That's the.
But it's not like correct. But it's funny.
Correct. Don't let Rob fool you about his deviant lifestyle. Okay? It's deviant. It's he has an agenda, a fetish agenda.
He does not have a fetish agenda. No, I've read his books. There's no fetish agenda there. They're actually educational. I'm gonna have Rob on my show sometime soon. Maybe tomorrow if he's not doing anything. I'll have him on my show.
And you guys talk about bonding. I think about
we will.
It's called Bound, and it had Gina Gershon. And
nobody can hear you. You're muted.
Yeah, I got muted. I tell you about a movie I like. It's called Bound. It had Gina Gershon and a couple other women in it. But yeah, it was a great movie.
And that's the kind of discussion, folks, that you hear on Geekgasm.
Yeah.
Only on IndieVolt on Wednesdays.
Lola's
9 p.m.
9 p.m. Wednesday. IndieVolt Radio, IndieVolt YouTube. Get to it.
Rob says it is. What is the sex of which you speak? Says
Wise
Justin. Rob says it's awful, but the actors are cute. It's about BDSM stereotypes, and yeah, Rob makes a whole book about BDSM stereotypes without anybody throwing a fireball or having powers. I mean, I guess their powers they can deal with it. I mean, but yeah, his book is actually educational, more slice of life stuff, which you can do in indie books. You can't do that in mainstream. So I always say that our main weaknesses were indie books. Our main strength is that we're indie books. We can do whatever we want. There's no corporate masters to serve yet until Disney buys us all. I'm gonna
buy us all.
no. But so Pat, we have a hypothetical question for you. If this happens, so you gotta figure this out, okay? All right. So this happened apparently at a show. And I'm not sure if I want to put the name of the show up there. No. Okay, I'm not putting the name of the show up there. This happened at a show in out of the country though. Okay. At a comic book convention. There was the 3-day show. Saturday morning, when the doors are open, there was a horrible smell. They checked the bathrooms. They could not find the bathrooms. People came into the convention. They were pretty shocked because somebody had decided to go pinch loafs behind various convention tables. They had a mad pooper on their hands who was going around convention tables, pooping behind tables. They did it overnight. So it was.
Why'd you do that?
He said it was Randy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lola says it was Randy. But it wasn't. It wasn't in the States. It couldn't have been Randy.
It wasn't me.
Someone was able to go poop behind many tables at a show, and it sat there overnight.
I don't have that kind of control over my constitution.
Yeah,
I hate to break it to
you. Pat, what do? Saturday morning, you open the doors to the convention and the smell of feces.
And they like open the doors to the the public
is real.
The
No, the con wasn't open yet, but the vendors are coming in.
Oh man, I mean that all you can do is call your venue and get because they have to call hazmat. You can't open. You can't let people there. Like if that happens stateside, yeah, the health department has to come. Like there's whole decontamination procedures that have to be followed.
Mm-hmm.
Like your show's canceled. I mean, really.
Time to bring out the pooper scoopers.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, that's hours of cleaning. And I mean, I have not related to the con. I have firsthand experience with what happens when we won't even call it an intentional fecal release happens on property. Yeah, it's not a good day.
Is this in a commercial setting or a retail setting?
Yeah, in a commercial setting, yes. Yeah, it was.
So basically, you're shut down for the day or two.
Yeah, you got to wait for them to clear it and say that it's clean because they have to. They
rebranded Comic and Poo Con.
Justin also rebranded.
Maybe it's a fetish con then. Sorry, Rob.
Talk about a shit story.
And Justin also said a smell at a comic convention. So I mean, how do you tell your vendors as we're coming down the steps, Pat? Like, are you like, okay, excuse, there's been a.
I mean, really, that's all you can do is be honest. I mean, there's nothing you could do. It's like we had something that somebody did something, and
it's a contest. Guess the poo, win a prize.
You have to be honest in that situation. 100%. Because
I'm sorry, people. We've had a scat attack.
Yeah, I mean, we had a bad pooper.
Could we even get into the show to get our stuff at that point?
Who's even got that kind of constitution? That's what I want to know. It was multiple drops at multiple tables.
It was apparently, according to the email of the question, 5 tables got hit.
Holy shit!
That's a hell of a constitution. That's a lot of fiber.
Like, how do Man,
holy shit, Pat.
how do you pinch off 5 separate loaves around the floor? Like I sit down and it's done.
Lots
Yeah.
of fiber.
I'm not like
Like
Lots
I
of
could see,
fiber.
I could see if you'd have to get like 4 friends together. Like, all right, guys, we're gonna eat these. We're gonna eat these White Castles and these Big Macs. We're gonna go over here to the show. We're
Not
gonna
White Castle.
yeah, if you're eating White Castles, you're not
That's
pinching
not the kind of,
loaves.
yeah, that's not the kind of constitution you want to leave.
Yeah, you gotta have a White Castle and a Tahitian treat. And oh boy, here you go. You're gonna.
Got to be careful. We're gonna summon ICP if we keep saying that too much.
Yeah, exactly. I can't eat pizza anymore on the road. Like, if you guys don't want me to come to dinner, just tell me that you're having pizza. I'm like, oh, nope, can't do it. Yeah, no shit. I'm only good for 1 or 2 days all day.
No, lots of shit, Justin. That's the problem.
Yeah. You're gonna. Oh my goodness, I just feel bad because imagine people coming downstairs and they're like, "Hey, can I get in the convention? Convention's canceled. Can I get my stuff?"
That sounds like some premeditated pooping.
Yeah. Somebody was super pissed.
That's that premeditated shit, man. I don't.
Exactly.
You can't get in there and get your stuff. You can't get in there and get it.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be cleaned up. I had a friend who their apartment had to be.
I would blame security.
Yeah, like there's a security flaw there. There's security flaws. There's lots of things happening there.
Or they did it.
Yeah.
They went behind the table and said, "I'm gonna fix everybody here."
Nick said somebody's been hitting that Metamucil pretty hard.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
It's full of them.
That's a hypothetical question. Thank you, Pat, for answering it. Randy, you run a con. Are you shutting your show
Justin
down?
says plan pooper hood. Say what? Do I shut down?
Yeah. There's 5 tables that should have been hit.
Well, those tables would be really close together.
Yeah. And then from what I understand too,
Yeah,
I
how
think
stuff's laid out there.
2 of the tables were actually pooped on. Everybody
Could
else
just
was
be-
pooped behind the tables.
Could just be another day in Flint. I have to give it some consideration.
That's really messed up.
Oh man.
If you're in San Francisco, it'd be a Saturday.
Yeah. It's just, I think you walk in, and my question would be, I would say it in the most English-sounding accent I could.
I'd be
Randy,
running for a pair of gloves and some sort of containment device. That's for sure.
who has shat on my table?
Cleaned up and start spraying the Lysol everywhere.
The shit show must go on.
I hope that none of the vendors' stock was damaged in the process.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
he
the
said
other part of it.
2 people got their tables pooped on. Other 3 tables were pooped like behind the
Who are
table.
those people? And what the hell did they do to that
Yeah,
people's
no
grandma?
kidding.
That's what.
Yeah, because you have to have some skill to get up there on the table. I mean, you gotta kind of.
You'd have to have some skill to do that 5 times, unless you came prepared.
Yeah, maybe he didn't do it all at once. Maybe it wasn't.
Maybe they pre-pooped.
Yeah.
And again, it was planned pooperhead.
Your comics ain't shit, literally.
Exactly.
That's. I
Talk
think
about
you.
That would be an upchuck.
Or if you were in Louisiana, they'd still want to taste.
Yeah, Louisiana be like, oh, you got to pay your shit tax. Really?
Yeah.
Talk about a scat pack.
It's a scat pack.
You guys are horrible. I want to thank you guys for joining me, putting up with our question of the day. Yeah, that's horrible. Hate that happened. Out the country, you got to wonder kind of look. American crap is worse. I just have this belief.
Drive-by pooping.
The further south you go, the poop gets worse. So when you go like, I feel like if I go like south of the border, there's gonna be poop with like extra stuff in it, like
I think that's a
El Fuego
stereotype.
poop.
Corn. I don't remember eating no corn.
Yeah. Also, what type of poop matters?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, could have been dog poop. Oh God, let me sick. Well,
That'd be easier and quicker to clean up than human poop.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
no.
No biohazard on that.
Yeah, Lola says, "What if it's diarrhea?" But yeah, that's just again the cleanup.
Just don't even want to go there.
The cleanup. I would like to be in charge of the Twitter though for that show. We had a we had a terrorist attack here at the show, biological attack.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of shit going on at this con.
Yeah, that's a media shitstorm.
Bad attack. Yeah.
Oh God, oh gosh, guys, thanks for joining me. Let me pay the bills here real quick.
Suddenly we found out that vendor A really was full of shit after all.
Justin says I've been to some shitty cons, but yeah, that's just low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Guys, if you want to send your questions in, you can do so at IndieVoltLive@IndieVolt.com, and please include IndieVolt Live in the subject. Please keep those emails to 90 words or less. Also, IndieVolt, we got up to 1942
Oh, man,
today.
are you kidding me?
So we almost broke 2,000 listeners on IndieVolt Radio.
That's a new record. Thank you, everyone out there in IndieVolt Radio land. We appreciate each and every one of you.
Yeah. And also, if you want to take us with you wherever you go, you can do so. IndieVolt Radio, the perfect companion to IndieVolt.com. IndieVolt Radio plays the best in indie music, entertainment, news, and more 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Here is from talent like Chemical, Park Squares and Valleys, and Dims One. Download the IndieVolt Radio app on Android, Google Play Store, or listen in with the streaming app on iOS. You can also check out IndieVolt Radio by visiting our official site, IndieVolt.com, and utilizing the built-in player right there on the front page. And then, because we know you're bored and you don't want to watch Bounding, whatever that crap was that Lola was watching, you can check out IndieVolt TV. It is the over-the-top streaming service available on Roku and coming very soon to Amazon Fire Stick and more. Stream independent movies, music videos, wrestling, original documentaries, and more on IndieVolt TV. And did I mention that it's free? Find IndieVolt TV by searching the channel store on your Roku device or Roku-enabled television. And because you guys will try to kill me if I don't do this, 1 second. You guys got like 4 minutes if anybody wants to jump in the chat and say anything.
Good thing we have TVMA DLSV working.
Yeah.
Trico just wanted to point out that comics most educated panel just spent 10 minutes talking about poop. Rob says consistency would matter as well. Justin says shitty vendors, shitty prices, shitty guests. Rob says hashtag a shitty situation. Nick says someone's going places.
We're going to have
But he
to.
also says this show rocks. So
Thank you, Nick. We appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, listen, poop at cons is no laughing matter, but you guys got like 4 minutes if you want to pop in or live here on the stream before we close it down.
If we can't make light of it, what can we make?
Yeah, we can.
Don't go there, though.
Yeah, just don't. And please don't poop at the show. Please.
Please don't.
There's bathrooms everywhere.
Please poop responsibly.
Yeah. There are bathrooms to the front and the rear of the convention. Please see your attendance.
Please.
Please don't poop on the floor.
Don't scatter your scat.
Yeah. Ugh.
You know, well, since we got a couple minutes, I'm gonna throw some extra plugs out there.
Okay, good.
One of the big things for Cherry Capital Comic Con is we always want to we concentrate so much on the comics, and Gary Reed was such a good friend of ours.
Okay.
We at the show we present the Gary Reed Independent Creator of the Year Award. Those nominations are open on our website. So if you know somebody who is basically they're creating comics, but while they're creating those comics, they're lifting others up and they're bringing the next generation along with them. Mm-hmm. That's the type of person who is really espousing Gary's spirit, because that's what Gary was all about. He loved making his comics, but he wanted to make sure that there are other people always making comics. Mm-hmm. So if you know somebody who's doing that and who's doing that well, that's a great person to nominate in the industry and put that nomination out there for them. So
yeah. We talk about Gary a few times on the show. Randy always says that Gary treated him better than he deserved. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of people's feelings about Gary, is that he was, you know, Lola just picked up some books from Second and Charles the other day that Gary had done, and that's somebody else I can't talk about without getting a little worked up.
Getting teary-eyed. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good dude.
Yeah.
There's a group of us that cut out, I believe, at a show. Was it a show? I think it was a show that we were at in order to attend the memorial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's funny.
Yeah, I feel like it was the weekend of Great Lakes.
Say again?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have been Great Lakes because it was last
show was for him. I know his last show was
Monroe.
Monroe. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
He pa-
it was at an evening at a Monroe Con.
Yeah. I
I think the
just
following, maybe it was one of our shows or something. I remember having to leave a show and attending the memorial and then running back. So
Yeah.
whatever it was. Anyway, yeah, it's a good thing you do with the Gary Reed Award.
yeah.
And some people were concerned about it, and we talked to his wife and daughters about it. We wanted to be respectful. We're not doing this for us. We're not doing this. This is something we do at the show, and we're involved with it, but it's completely independent of the show. We promote it, we talk about it, and it's awarded there. But if the show ever folded or something happened, and we would want to move that to a different show, it would be about it's about the award. It's not about us getting pats on the back. That's what's important, is Gary's spirit living on.
And Rob said we tried to put Gary in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Indie Hall of Fame. I'm sure he's going to end up there shortly. So
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, Gary was always I still expect to see him when I go to shows. I still expect to see him. It's weird looking over, and I love the people of Caliber, but it's weird looking over there not seeing him.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And it's really eerie because when he passed, it was just after the show, and he had sat there and sent out a bunch of emails before he was on his way to bed. And
you got one of those.
I got one of those, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, the next day we find out he had passed. It's pretty crazy.
Still miss him. He's and I don't think we're gonna stop missing him either. There's a
But luckily Caliber still is still moving along and
Yeah.
and still going on. Andrea's doing some really nice work. There, we had him on the program not too long ago.
Andrea and Evan over there with Time Grunts.
Yeah,
Those guys are putting out good quality books.
still doing good stuff. They just went through a reprinting on my War of the Worlds book, so
Yeah.
that was cool. A really nice reprinting, by the way. It's a nicer product than what it was before, and that's awesome to see.
Yeah. You we all know about your Advanced Comic Vine page, Randy. Not like
Well,
mine.
that's only because you're an editor there. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just. Randy's in. Take
I'm
all
like,
his credit.
hey, I know an editor at Comic Vine. Finally, I can get them up to date with all the stuff. Here's all these.
Yeah.
Files.
Hey,
You
here,
post
take
this
all
picture.
this. Put this
What
all
about
up there.
these 15? What about
Yeah.
these 20 issues? Can you list me on those? Yeah.
So, Pat, we want to thank you for coming back. We got to have you back on the show, especially closer to C4. Even though I know you're going to be really busy, we don't care. We'll have you on it. we'll have you
You're
on.
always welcome.
And I've always got time for podcasting because I love this stuff. So
And what day
We
is
want to
C4?
point out your campaign once again. That's
Mm-hmm.
Get in the Game, a comic anthology.
Yep.
It's only got 8 more days to go. Please, it's on Kickstarter. Please give it a look. Consider buying in.
That's right. This man doesn't care where your money comes from.
I care about you liking the product. That's all that matters to me.
That's right. And that's where I ought to be. Thank you for joining us here on IndieVolt. We will see everybody very soon. Me and Randy will be back Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Lola will be here tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for Geekgasm. And then, of course, we'll be back here every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. to talk comics, poopit shows. We had some...
Hopefully not a lot of scat talk. So.
We've already had a guy talk about putting his special juices in the batter for the remember the ink for the Prentice Comics. Remember that?
No, we weren't going to go back there. we weren't going to go back there.
Oh yeah, the guy. Yeah, Lola. To remind.
And he froze.
Remind Randy of that.
Remind Randy of it. Oh,
What?
last week when we had the guy that wanted to make a sequential art using his special juices on me.
Remember that?
I missed that one. Was that on? That must have been on your Geekgasm show.
I'm not sure what show it was on. They also have to run together after.
I don't know.
remember.
Yeah, but yeah.
That's a little bit too above my pay grade.
Thank you everybody for watching.
You can't hear you.
Dare you?
You're muted.
Thank you everybody for watching. We will see you next week.
And now you're unfrozen, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Thanks everybody for watching. We will see you next week. Until then, keep reading comics, keep taking care of each other. And this has been an IndieVolt production. Still not owned by Disney, but we are available. Later.
Thanks so much.